What if you could simply drain away your stomach contents every time you ate something? You could eat whatever you wanted, as much as you wanted, then simply drain it out to avoid gaining weight. Sounds like the ultimate weight loss device. In fact, one such device existed and was even approved for use by the FDA. But why haven't many people done it? Almost 1/3 of North Americans are estimated to be overweight, and with an obesity rate climbing ever higher, it's not surprising we're constantly looking for solutions to this serious problem. Medical devices that help people lose weight is a rapidly growing multi-billion-dollar industry. In 2001, the FDA approved the use of a device called the gastric band, or lap band, a device that wraps an inflatable balloon around your stomach and squeezes it, making it difficult to eat too much. Positive studies and the promise of a minimally invasive and easily reversible surgery skyrocketed its popularity, such that by 2011, lap bands comprised over 35% of all weight loss surgeries in the US. In 2016, the FDA approved another such device called Aspire Assist for use in aspiration therapy. This therapy uses a device that opens a hole in your stomach and drains food directly out a port on your abdomen. The promise of being able to eat whatever you wanted and simply drain it out afterwards generated a lot of press hype in 2016. But by 2019, less than 1% of weight loss surgeries were lap bands. And by 2022, the Aspire Assist device was being pulled from the market. What happened? In theory, these devices made sense and sounded like a good idea. In practice, however, there were problems from the get-go. Aspiration therapy works by connecting your stomach via what they call the A-tube to a port on your abdomen. Almost half of all patients experience the formation of scar tissue, also called granulation tissue, around the ports, which resulted in pain and in some cases infection. Occasional problems with the A-tube, such as leakage of acidic stomach contents, caused further irritation and swelling at the port sites. Other problems involve the use of the Aspire Assist device. A device called the connector latches onto the abdominal port and has a bag of water attached to it. Squeezing this bag pushes water into the stomach, loosening the stomach contents enough to drain back out the tube and directly into the toilet. For food to drain properly through the tube, it needed to be mostly liquid and contain no food chunks. So patients were instructed to chew their food thoroughly and wait 20 to 30 minutes after their meals before draining their stomach to allow the stomach contents to become a soft, mushy liquid, which made it easier to drain out. However, the tube is about the width of a straw, and the device has no pump. Imagine trying to drain a thick, semi-dissolved meal through a straw, with nothing but gravity to aid you. As a result, people found that foods that were too high in fiber or were too chunky would not be drained properly, and sometimes caused blockages in the tubes. This tended to discourage the intake of things like vegetables, fruits, and fresh meat, since the soluble fiber and protein chunks don't break down quickly and easily into a liquid. It also encouraged the intake of simple carbohydrates like crackers or cereal, since these foods break down much faster and easier into a liquid slurry in the stomach. So, more cookies and bread, and less broccoli and chicken. Probably not a good idea if you're trying to lose weight. Additionally, the device could only drain about 30% of your stomach contents at max. Combine that with the fact that the connector could only be used 115 times before it needed a new replacement, had to be used 3 times a day, and needed to be carefully cleaned after each use, and it's not hard to see why many patients simply got tired of using it. But the bigger potential problems it faced were long-term. Turns out your body really doesn't like having a foreign device like a band or a tube installed in your body for years on end, especially if it irritates and alters the function of an otherwise healthy organ. The scar tissue formed around these devices often impaired the proper function of surrounding tissue. It also complicated the removal of these devices, and patients sometimes had to undergo revision surgery to repair the damage caused by them. So the idea of being able to put these devices in, lose the weight, then easily remove them without a trace was perhaps a little too optimistic for most people. Not all weight loss surgeries involve implanting medical devices, however. The gastric sleeve involves cutting out a part of the stomach and reducing the size of the stomach. The gastric bypass bypasses most of the stomach altogether. These surgeries don't use medical devices and were typically more effective than the implanted devices. They do have other issues unique to drastically modifying your stomach. However, a common issue that all these weight loss surgeries face is the problem of weight regain. The gastric bypass is one of our strongest interventions for weight loss, and even then, about a half will experience significant weight regain in 2 years. Nearly all patients who removed their lap band and didn't continue with more surgery after the band regained most of their weight back 2 years after removal. And most patients gained more weight than before the lap band by 5 years. These patients also reported a worsened quality of life afterwards as a result of their permanent changes to their stomach caused by the lap band. Clearly, these devices were not offering a satisfactory solution to the obesity problem. One of the biggest reasons for weight regain was the inability to follow a proper weight loss diet and lifestyle. Obesity is a highly complex problem that involves genetic, hormonal, and psychological components. While weight loss surgery is a powerful tool, it often fails to address many of these issues by itself. People need to recognize that you need a multifaceted approach to weight loss. Paying thousands for expensive weight loss tools and surgeries in the hopes that it'll solve your weight problem once and for all is a highly romanticized idea and not realistic whatsoever. While these tools are helpful to support a person's weight loss, learning to build good dietary and lifestyle habits remains one of our most cost-effective and realistic tools to combat it. And there's no one pill or surgery that's going to change that anytime soon. Unfortunately, it's not a sentiment that everyone shares. In 2019, the US spent approximately $3.6 billion on weight loss surgeries, and Americans spent about $2.1 billion on weight loss supplements. For comparison, the United States Division of Nutrition, Physical Activity, and Obesity spent just under $57 million that year on obesity prevention initiatives like dietary and lifestyle education. Hi, I'm Dr. Brian Young. Subscribe and hit the notification bell to stay up to date, and if you found this video informative, please leave me a like and share this video with someone you know can use the info.